This little girl here, she's a 6-year-old mare, 6-year-old purebred Lusitano mare. She's been loaded, I want to say about 5 times. I loaded her up from the farm she came from. I transported her down to our farm, and that was the last time she'd been on a trailer. And it wasn't easy, but she wasn't all that difficult. But she was certainly pulling back on the rope, and she was certainly trying to avoid the trailer. Since she's been in training, she's been through the obstacle courses, she's stepped over things, she's had tarps over her, she's walked over tarps, all that general gaining confidence, things you can do on your horses. A lot of times people will think, well, geez, that horse is 6 years old, she ought to know how to get in that trailer. Well, no one's ever taught her to get in the trailer nicely and politely and with balance and with rhythm. So don't ever make an assumption that your horse, just because of their age, that they know something, because educationally they can be very, very, very young. I put the first ride and started colts that were, like the oldest one I started I think was 9 years old. So he was 9 years old in his body, but mentally he didn't know anything about a saddle or rider or anything like that. So don't take anything for granted. Same thing as before, I'll just lead her out and then I'll drive her if I need to. Now what I'll do is I'll kind of send her between me and this trailer a few times. And that way I'm just getting her used to a little bit of pressure, just like if she was walking through a gate. Same kind of pressure that would be on her from a cinch. Sanding her just left and right. Now I'm not just sanding her left and right. What I'm watching first for her not dropping that shoulder too bad into me, when she comes over here to my left, seeing if she'll yield to that lead rope. There's some curiosity, take it. See, there's her mind. Her mind's going towards the trailer. You want to reward that. When the horse looks at you or looks at the rest of the world, then that's usually time to ask him for a little bit more. I just took a step forward. I'm kind of closing that distance between the trailer and me. So the width of those 2 stalls in that 2-horse trailer is probably right about 3 feet. I'm about 6 feet from the trailer. So if she can get used to being kind of squoze through 6 feet of space, then she's set up for a little bit better success going through 3 feet of space. Good, she's following the fill on this lead rope pretty nice. Just kind of pick it up, ask for the hips, lead her forward. If she brings a shoulder in, then I'd bring my flag in or my knee in and say, get out of my space. Good job, honey. So now redirect her nose. And she's sniffing. She's being curious right now. This is where you don't ask your horse for more. Her attention left the trailer, so that's when I'd redirect it. Remember the whole thermostat thing. It's warmer out here and it's cooler in there. She kind of blowed out, took a step forward. That's fantastic. She's exploring her new world. A lot of times in trailer loading and in obstacle courses, if you let your horse think, if you quit asking your horse to do so much and you let them think, then I like to say they think their way through an obstacle or they think their way into the trailer. Because by us not doing anything, it allows them to mentally prepare themselves to load inside the trailer. When I'm loading horses, I like to stand off to the side and send them by me. And there's one spot that I'm really particular about not letting a horse get through me. And that's between me and this door. A lot of horses, once they find out that they can get between this gap, then they can just start shooting that gap because we don't have the right angles on them and they know that. So they'll shoot that gap and avoid loading up into the trailer. So I like to stand pretty close to the trailer, and if need be, I'll block them with my left hand to keep their nose pointed towards the trailer. Leader, a little bit of driving pressure from the back. So I'm going to draw a line in the sand. So her front foot went to this line right here, and she's standing very nicely. So mentally, I keep track of where her hoof prints go. You can draw a line in the sand, you can put cones up, And once they pass one cone confidently, or once they pass one line in the sand confidently, then the next time you ask them for a little bit more. Ask them for maybe half a footprint past that line. Ask them to give you a tiny bit more effort. You always want to be progressive with these guys. They get bored pretty easy. So a little bit, and then a release. Now what I'll do is I'll just back her out from this lead line here, and I'll send her back out. Direct her nose, shoulders. Once she's lined up into that trailer, then I can put pressure back here behind her. A little bit of pressure. Before this horse picks up a front foot, remember, mind, flexion, weight, feet. Before this horse picks up a front foot, she has to rock her weight back onto her haunches in order to pick up the front foot. So as she rocks that weight back, you can start dialing down your pressure so that when she picks a foot up, there's no pressure. So you're telling her that she's headed in the right direction. Keep on trucking. Put a little bit of pressure back here. She took a step up. That was nice. Pressure back here. And I'll let her stand there if she wants. If she doesn't want to, and I'll just reposition her. Thank her for a good job. Send her again. A little bit of pressure there. As soon as they start moving, guys, you gotta release. You want the inside of that trailer to be the nicest place they've ever been. Some of the most frustrating times are when your horse won't load in a trailer. Add that to the fact that you're at a show, you're at a rodeo, you're at a trailhead, you got people looking, you got people offering to help you. Rewarding those tries is the key. It's not always necessarily what we do to our horses, but it's when we quit doing what we're doing. Atta girl. And this horse, ever since this horse came into training, I've always known she was a really, really smart horse. She's a full sister to my wife's Lusitano. And my wife can certainly pick good horses, so I had no doubt that this little mare would be a really smart horse. A little bit of pressure. She's kind of stepping up a little bit with the hind feet. A lot of times right now is where people would really crank down on the pressure. They'd really say, you got to get that horse loaded. Well, this is a training session. We don't have to get the horse loaded. We're training our horse to load. She might not get all 4 feet in today, and that's not a problem. I like to bring my pressure on out here if I have a flag. There, she's kind of getting tense, so you dial your pressure down. That's the safe spot. And once they're in the safe spot, you have to let them enjoy the safe spot. You have to let them dwell, kind of soak in what you've been teaching them. She gave me a nice lick and chew in there. She's kind of blowing out in there. Send her back in. Redirect this nose. Pressure on her butt. Pressure on her butt. There she goes. Oh my goodness, that was good. She's still tight and tense, but she loaded up on the trailer. To me, a horse yielding is not an option. If I'm applying pressure to a horse and they're not yielding, then I need to get more effective in order for them to understand that the pressure I'm applying means move your body. That doesn't always necessarily mean more physical pressure either. This is much, much, much better than the last time she loaded at her farm. By far. Give them lots of petting. As soon as your horse is standing in the trailer, don't put your butt bar up. Don't shut the door. It's just going to compound problems and make it worse. As So when you're training them, let them in, they can back up if they want, and just send them right back in. I see a lot of people that when the horse gets out of the trailer, they'll back their horses up, and they're often swinging that lead line, or they're waving their flags. That's not really doing too much to the horse other than proving to them that one, you're a jerk, and two, you're taking them away from what they were scared of. So they'll say, oh shoot, you waving this flag in my face and you being a jerk to me is still better than being in that trailer. So thanks for backing me up. So I like to stay here at the trailer, make it difficult out here. I don't back them up, and then I make the trailer the safe spot. Same thing that I did with that big old quarter horse. I'll grab that tail. I'll ask her to back up. You didn't see it, but she flexed a little bit, so she got a release. So tail first, and then wiggle the lead line. Tail first, wiggle the lead line. There. Whew, that was scary, wasn't it? That was good. She said, I don't know if that was good, but I did something. Horse that runs off on that trailer, keep it cool, send them back in. One of the biggest qualities, and I don't always have it, but one of the biggest qualities of a horseman is emotional control. Don't get worked up, don't get mad. It takes two to fight. Don't bring any more fight into the fight if you don't have to. The left hand's redirecting her nose. She lined up, she gets a release. My left hand's still going to redirect her nose, and pressure's going to start out here. She's going to lean forward, come forward, get her nose. Major try, major try. Now that one wasn't as far as, of course, when she had all 4 feet in, but she sure put a lot of effort into it. It wasn't a half-hearted effort. She's standing up there, she's tight, she's tense. That's a try. It's not a try when they just kind of saunter on up, plant their feet, they're relaxed, and they're saying, poop on you. Thank you. I'd rather have you poop out here than inside the trailer. So I'll start the pressure out here. See if there's a try. She backed out, it's no big deal. Direct her nose, send her back in. She's kind of dancing on those hind legs are shaking. Her hind legs are shaking, so I'm not doing anything. Those hind legs are shaking. That means she's trying, boy. Thank you for trying. Send her right back in. Consistency is the key to training. Some horses have a lot of stick-to-itiveness. Some horses take a lot of consistency and a lot of repetition. So on horses like that, you just need to have that much more emotional control, and you just have to outlast them. You have more stick-to-itiveness, more intestinal fortitude than they do. Drive her forward, direct her nose. Drive her forward, direct her nose. She doesn't like that flag by her haunches. It's difficult back here. It's peaceful up here. She'll know peace once she starts heading towards that trailer. There she goes. She tried to shoot the gap that I was talking about earlier, so I just stepped in there and I blocked her. Keep her nose tipped towards the trailer. Don't let her drop that shoulder into you. Don't let her drop her nose away from you. Don't let her run you over. Don't drop that nose away from you. There, that was better. Thank you, girl. Send her right back in. See, she sees that gap. She's just exploring her options. She's not quite sure where she'd rather be. She knows she'd rather be out here, not inside the trailer. But it's our job as a trainer, as a horseman. I don't consider myself a trainer. There she goes. The longer you wait to teach a horse these things, the longer they can kind of be stuck in their ways. The longer they can kind of say, well, I've never had to do that before, why do I have to do it now? You can teach your horses a trailer load when they're, you know, when you're halter breaking them as weanlings. So that's what she's doing there is exactly why I have a flag. You know, I'm not hurting her. It's hardly even tickling her. She's just kind of telling me that she'd rather not be in there, and she's playing the same game. There, she's playing the same game on me, but I'm playing with her. My flag's asking her to go forward, and she's kicking at my flag. There. I'll let her stand there for that one. And then I'll just send her right back in. Push that nose, push her shoulders, send her right back on in. She comes out, I send her right back in. Horse has always got a choice. You know, if I was to make the wrong thing impossible, I'd have a longer line running out through the window of the truck or the window of the trailer tied onto my truck. So she wouldn't have a choice. She has a choice. She can make any choice she wants. The only way that I'm going to let her be, and the only way that I'm going to be quiet, is when little old mare loads herself in this trailer. It might not happen in 15 minutes. It might not happen in an hour. It might not happen in 4 hours, but it'll happen. The more aggressive we get, the meaner we get, the more emotions we let rule our decisions, then the worse it'll get and the longer it'll take. Now we're just kind of playing tit for tat. She's kind of titting me and I'm tatting her. But every time you have to reward every try. Reward the slightest change and the smallest try. You can't muscle. Yeah, you can muscle a horse in with mechanics, but you shouldn't ever muscle your horse into a trailer, and you shouldn't ever rely on your physical strength to get a horse in a trailer. If I was holding on to that lead rope as she was running out, then she'd be dragging me with her. But I just let her. Say, you want to go out? That's fine. We'll just go right back in. So now I'll back her out with my lead line. I'll send her out there and I'll say, remember that whole thermostat deal. Remember that heat's on out here. It's nice in that trailer, sweetie. It is nice in that trailer. She says, I don't think it is. Oh, it is. Oh, there she goes. There she goes. Little bit, there she goes. Oh, she's shaking there, so I'll just add a little bit of pressure here. There's her flexion. In order for those hind feet to pick up, she has to lean forward. So my pressure's on until she leans forward, and then the pressure off, and then I'll pressure on. This is what some people call driving pressure or indirect pressure. She knows what's happening behind her. And I don't need to make physical contact with her for her to feel that pressure. Lock that hole. Tip her nose towards the trailer. You're probably hearing me say a lot of the same things, but it's because I'm kind of doing a lot of the same things. Making the wrong thing do the right thing easy. letting her make the choice to go out, making that difficult, making coming into the trailer easy. Put that hind foot up. That was good. Start out here. Come closer. I don't know if you can see my left hand working, but as she's running into the trailer, I let that rope slide through my hand so there's no backwards pressure on that halter. She's trying. She's trying. Her mind's going a million miles an hour. And then once she's in, you let her stand. Don't try to keep them in. If you start keeping them in now and not allowing them to back up and do their own approach and retreat, which is how a horse gains confidence, is through approach and retreat. If you slam the door shut now or did that butt bar up, then she would, sometimes forever, until you finally dealt with it, she would hold all that tension and she wouldn't trailer properly and she'd be pawing the trailer and she'd never be comfortable in the trailer. And then just rub on them, lots of rubbing. Now that other horse was loading so good to start with. I started, looking for the balances, looking for which front foot goes in, see if he's real balanced. That's stuff you can start paying attention to now. But in this session, just the fact that she's getting in all the way and staying in, home inside there, and that's a huge success for me. Standing in here three-legged. Husk her out. Tell lead rope. Tell lead rope. Tell lead rope. Yeah. That wasn't so bad. And then, get to the point where maybe you don't need your flag. Use the tail of your lead rope. I have the flag handy if I need it. Same exact principles apply. Just kind of driving her forward. Driving her forward. Driving her forward. Rewarding the slightest try. Now I'll kind of tickle her butt a little bit. She didn't like that, so she goes right back in. Just little taps. You don't need to massacre your horses. You'd be surprised at how little pressure it takes to motivate a horse. Little taps, little taps. Perfect. One thing with training and with trailers or whatever you're teaching your horse is we can choose the principles that we use, we can choose the techniques that we use, and we can choose the tools that we use to train our horses. But the one thing that we can't choose is the timeline. The horse chooses the timeline. We can decide if we want to use a flag or a horseman's stick with a string on it or the tail of our rope or the coils in your lariat. They set the timeline every time. When you start to push it and rush it and try to get things done on your time, generally it doesn't end up being so good. Good. I'll Try to get it just a little bit better from the tail of my lead rope. This horse is going to the discipline the owner is going to ride this horse in is dressage. So chances are when this horse leaves, she'll never see a guy in a flat hat. She'll probably won't see a flag again. But she'll always have a lead line on her, so she can load that way. See, I'm not touching her, but she knows there's pressure back here. Just send her back in. Direct the nose, direct the shoulders, direct the back end. There she goes. And it doesn't matter if you're a reiner, a cutter, a dressage rider, an eventer. Horsemanship's horsemanship. It doesn't matter if you wear a flat hat, you wear a helmet. Horsemanship's the same. Horsemanship is not discipline specific. All right, let's get this old girl out, and then I'll bring in another horse that's been trailer loaded I don't even know how many times. She's pretty good at it. See how she tried to, so I'll just send her back. She kind of tried to skirt around me. So now she can stand quietly by the trailer. Not pay attention to that car going down the road. She can stand. She can stand. She can stand by the trailer. Not on me. By me. So if she can't stand by the trailer, then I do some more of this left-right stuff. Kind of getting her feet moving. She's kind of saying the job's done. I can go back. And I say, no, not really. And then when they get soft, you pet them. She's got to stay out of my space. She has to start paying a lot more attention to what's going on. And she's not being bad or rude. She's just doing what horses do. She's protecting herself. She's trying to put herself first. You can't blame them for that. So I'm gonna grab another horse and show you some other ways that you can kind of increase your trailer loading knowledge and where you can just keep on going. So this is the very beginning of trailer loading, and it only goes on from there. Go grab her.